When people play Doom, they play it for the combat. I mean, sure, there are other amazing things about Doom, such as the art direction, the UI, the lore, and obviously the soundtrack. But the combat is and will always be the centerpiece of any Doom game. And I believe that Doom Eternal has arguably the greatest combat system in any video game. So, here is what makes Doom Eternal's combat so damn good. Firstly, let's go over your arsenal. You have the super shotgun, ballista, rocket launcher, plasma rifle, combat shotgun, heavy cannon, and the chain gun. And one of the best things about Eternal's combat is the commitment to making all of these weapons serve a unique function. In Doom 2016, the predecessor, there were very clear differences in power and quality when it came to the weapons. Some weapons were simply, objectively, better than others. But this is not the case in Eternal. For example, the plasma rifle is used to destroy shields on both the soldiers and the Doom Hunters. And if you play the DLC, then you're gonna need it to kill the spirit enemy type as well. But then you have the ballista, which is not only great for quick swapping between weapons back and forth for maximum damage, but also does increased damage to flying enemies such as the Cacodemons. And then you have the super shotgun, which not only shoots faster than in Doom 2016, but now has a grappling hook attached to it, and with the right upgrades, can set whichever enemy you grapple onto on fire. But those are just your weapons. I mentioned setting enemies on fire, but why would you want to do that? Well, because killing or damaging enemies that are on fire drop armor. In Eternal, you have two health bars, your health and your armor. Both function as methods of damage negation, and you'll be taking a lot of damage in Eternal, so making use of both your flaming grapple hook and your flame belch, which is a shoulder-mounted flamethrower, is key to surviving in Doom Eternal. But that's just one shoulder-mounted tool. You also have your grenades, both the standard grenade and your freeze grenade. The freeze grenade is extremely useful as it gives you a moment to breathe in between fast-paced encounters, and also gives you some time to rack up some damage on whatever demon you want to focus on. But these weapons and tools aren't going to work by themselves. So, what about your ammo? Well, one of the biggest complaints revolving around the Doom Eternal is the staggering lack of ammo drops around the maps. However, this is for a reason. Another one of your tools is the chainsaw, which has up to 3 charges, with the first charge automatically replenishing over time, and the other charges needing to be picked up around the arena. But the chainsaw serves a function beyond simply cool animations and insta-kills. When you kill an enemy with the chainsaw, that enemy will drop large amounts of ammo. However, with only one chainsaw charge, you can only use it on weaker enemy types. So rather than looking around the arena for ammo drops, you'll instead be looking around for smaller, weaker demons to chainsaw so you can easily replenish your ammo. This makes even the weak, fodder enemies serve a purpose even in the later levels of the game. They essentially become walking ammo and health banks for you to claim as you try and hold off the other demons. And lastly, there is one more crucial tool, the blood punch. When an enemy gets to extremely low health, they enter a staggered state where they start flashing, and if you run up to them and hit the melee button, you will perform something called a glory kill, which is just essentially a flashy, gory animation that will finish that demon off. But, again, it also serves a purpose. It recharges your blood punch. When you hit the melee button normally in Eternal, it will do next to nothing, dealing almost 0 damage and generally being a pointless action. Until you charge up a blood punch, where your melee attack will do a great amount of damage in a large area of effect, and also has the added bonus of increasing the health, armor, and ammo dropped by whichever demon you hit or kill. But where Doom Eternal really shines is in the combination of these tools. Imagine you're fighting a large demon and they've got you pretty low on health and armor. You check your weapons and you notice that you're quite low on ammo as well. Simply find a group of smaller enemies, chainsaw one to replenish your ammo, freeze the rest with a freeze grenade and light them on fire with the flame belch, then hit them all with a blood punch for increased health and armor. congrats, you're now back to full health and ready to continue fighting. As you play Doom Eternal, you are constantly making interesting decisions revolving around what move to perform next, what weapon to switch to, when to back off and replenish resources, or when to continue fighting. But what about fighting itself? Well, in order to deal as much damage as possible, you'll need to learn something called quick swapping, where you quickly swap between multiple weapons in your arsenal. Generally, the best combo to use for maximum damage is swapping between the super shotgun, ballista, rocket launcher, and the heavy cannon with the sniper scope mod equipped. What's a weapon mod, you ask? Well, each of your weapons besides the super shotgun have mods that can be swapped between at any time. Each mod adds an alternate function to the weapon you're using. For example, the combat shotgun has an alternate mod where it becomes a rapidly firing shotgun, and another where it can shoot grenades out of the barrel, but you can't have both equipped at the same time. You need to choose which one you have at any given time. Or, as mentioned, the heavy cannon has a mod where it can rapidly fire mini missiles and rockets out the side of the gun, or a sniper scope that, when zoomed in, fires a strong bolt dealing a large amount of damage but consuming more ammo per shot. Okay, so all of this sounds like a lot, and I mean, holy shit, you'd be right. Even just typing all this out is giving me a headache, but a massive accomplishment that Eternal pulls off is that it manages to make all of this not confusing in the slightest. It feeds all of this information to you at the perfect pace, and just as soon as you feel that you are starting to understand and perfect the combat, it hits you with yet another tool to learn and to master. Another minor criticism of Eternal compared to 2016 is that it had a lot more tooltips and pop-ups explaining the use of different weapons and gadgets. However, I personally don't see an alternative to this. The sheer amount of tools at your disposal is staggering, and understanding how to combine all of them to the best of your ability is even more challenging. So I personally appreciated having more tooltips and minor tutorials teaching me the certain functions of these weapons. Although I do think that for the next game they could maybe slightly be toned down a bit. Okay, so you've learned about your weapons, your gadgets, how to combine them for maximum damage, how to replenish your resources, but what about the enemies that you'll be fighting? Well, luckily, another strong feat of Doom Eternal is the enemy variety. Especially once you get to the 2 DLCs. You got all kinds of demons, from revenants to prowlers to cyber demons, hell knights, and more. The enemy variety here is unbelievable, and different demons genuinely feel distinct to one another when you're fighting them. Some are a lot stronger up close, like the prowler or the dread knight, but some are a lot stronger at range, like the cyber demon or mancubus. And speaking of the mancubus, certain enemies have large weak points on their body that you can shoot and destroy to lower their damage and their health. And speaking of health, Doom Eternal does a great job of conveying information to you, specifically enemy health. Instead of having health bars, which would crowd the screen and result in like a Suicide Squad situation, Doom Eternal has a really smart way around this. As you damage a demon, it will slowly lose chunks of flesh and will start to show more bone and tissue. It's a rather simple solution, but an extremely effective one, as it easily tells the player how much damage they've done to an enemy without cluttering the screen with health bars. But it isn't just enemy health, it's a bunch of other things too. For example, when your weapon is low on ammo, a specific sound effect will play as you are shooting. But it gets even better with health. As you get low on health, your screen will be outlined in red and another sound effect will play, again, telling you that you are low on health. But not just this, the music playing in the background will start to become muffled and quieter. So you have like 2 sound cues and a visual cue, all telling you that you are low on health without you having to drastically look around your screen to check. All of this is extremely important because in a game like Doom, where everything is so fast-paced, you often don't have the time to be looking around your screen for information. So having everything be conveyed to you in both a visual and auditory sense is amazing. For a game with so many mechanics, it's a miracle and a triumph that Doom Eternal is able to show you everything all at once in a way that isn't confusing or cluttered in the slightest. However, something else that is a triumph are these arenas, perfectly designed with great verticality and layout. And a lot of the combat arenas in Eternal emphasize verticality. There are jump pads laid throughout certain arenas, monkey bars to swing off of, and of course, you could still use the grapple hook to swing off of enemies and fling yourself around the arena, which is always fun. And it's important to give the player plenty of options to move around, because the moment that you even think about standing still in Doom, you are dead. Considering the sheer amount of enemies, projectiles being shot at you, demons closing in on you, and having to balance your health and resources, it is a must to constantly be on the move at all times. To assist you with this is a dash mechanic, a seemingly small feature but one that was absent in Doom 2016, and believe me when I say that going back to Doom 2016 without a dash, it's like going from an F-16 fighter jet to a bicycle. And when you put all of these things together, the weapon variety and all of their distinct uses, the ammo and the health economy, and how your various tools are used to replenish your resources, learning how to combine all your tools for maximum output, quick swapping from weapon to weapon to deal as much damage as possible, as well as the weapon mods that you can equip and change, the enemy variety and their distinct strengths and weaknesses, the arena design with great verticality and ways to move around, and the fast-paced nature of it all, what do you get? You get the best combat system in any video game. Oh, man, I gotta tell you, after a long and grueling combat encounter in Eternal, I come out of it feeling like I won a battle. The focus that goes into playing Eternal and the amount of things that you need to keep an eye on and balance all at the same time, while maintaining a high level of speed, is just blood pumping, but in the best of ways. I urge anyone to play this game, especially with the upcoming Doom: The Dark Ages coming out sometime in 2025. Doom Eternal is a must-play for anyone. I'm typically not one to get into the discussion around video game difficulty, but if you do play this game, I strongly recommend playing it on Ultra Violence, which is hard, or Nightmare, which is very hard, as I simply don't believe this game is meant to be played on any lower difficulty. Of course, you're welcome to, and you'll still have a great time, I'm sure, but that fast-paced, high-octane action just won't hit as hard. And if you have played Doom Eternal but are looking for a reason to jump back into it, I really recommend playing the 2 Ancient God DLCs if you haven't already, giving the Horde mode a try, as well as the Mastery levels, which are missions from the campaign but turned up a notch with bonus rewards. Doom Eternal has plenty of replayability and reasons to jump back into it, but even if it didn't, I still would play the hell out of this game because of just how fun the combat loop is. I guess one of my only minor criticisms is that when starting a brand new save of the base game, the first few hours can be a bit tedious because you still haven't unlocked the majority of your tools and weapons, which can make for a seemingly bare bones experience, especially when you know just how good it gets later on once you have everything unlocked. But man, I mean, and the DLCs are also a great workaround for that, because you start the DLCs with a full arsenal and all your tools at the end of the base game, which is just great. Oh man, I just love this game so much, and every time that I feel the urge to jump back into it, I always have a great time. There really is nothing else like it. You should absolutely play Doom Eternal.